Well, here's another installment on the resurrection of my 62 Chrysler 300. I'm getting a little bit more work done to it now. I had Bob weld all these vents up here solid and go back and grind all his welds down and go around that with some panel bond, make sure there's no water can ever leak down in there, and then sand that down. And then I'll probably level all these holes up with Dynaglass to where it's all level across there. This will be painted flat black so that it doesn't show the paint through the vent. And what I did on the vent, instead of the hooks that used to hold it on, I found these little bumper bolts that actually slide into a bumper, and had Bob to tack weld those on there for me, and it works perfect as far as holding down the back of it. And that'll be all factory looking right now, and might even chrome plate that, I don't know. Right here I had to make a bracket using an 1/8 inch piece of steel, because the factory firewall had a raised place where your kick down linkage and throttle linkage bracket bolts right there. And then the bracket and the linkage and all I'm going to have chrome plated, hopefully. Bob's got my floor pans all welded in, did a hell of a job there. Still got to go back and grind all his welds, and there too I will use panel bond around those seams to make sure if there's any pinholes it'll all be sealed up. Then I'm probably going to spray the inside of the floor as well as the outside underneath side of the floor with spray and truck bed liner. Down here on the quarter, on the rocker panel, since I've got airbags on this car, and with the shocks and everything, I figured it's going to be too cluttered to run the exhaust all the way out the back. So what we've done here, don't really pay any attention to that drawing, that's just a scribble, but I've got some GMC Denali tips, and we are going to suck those up into the rocker panel, and there'll be a nice even gap around those, and try to keep them down as low as I can. I'd like to stay below that body line, but I don't know yet. We'll just have to wait and see. A little bit harder than what it looks like it's going to be, because the rear subframe on this car is actually welded to the floor, so there's no moving it. So what I did was I drilled a 3-inch hole all the way through the frame and put a 3-inch pipe nipple up in there. I had to cut it down and got Bob to weld that in there for me. I've got to grind it all up, and then I've got to cut my torque boxes still, cut that out of there for clearance for those tips, as well as the bottom of the rocker. Back here, like I said, I want to light up the 300 emblems that go on the quarter panels. That's a piece of diesel exhaust pipe. I still had to split it to make it big enough to fit that hole. It's about 3 inches long. I wanted it deep enough for the bulb so that the bulb doesn't melt the plastic lens that I'm going to have to glue in there. This will all be welded to the quarter panel solid, and that will be ground down smooth with the contour of the quarter panel. You can see what it looks like on the inside here. That'll be my light pocket. It'll have a back side to it with the light in it. Over here I've got the bezel mounted that actually holds the 300 emblem. You can kind of see what I'm doing. And inside there I've got a piston ring, and that's what's going to hold the lens that will be glued in solid and smoothed down with the outside of the quarter panel. And the 300 emblems will be painted with a translucent paint so you can see through it. And when the light's turned on, those will light up. I think it's going to be a real neat touch. Anyway, it's just a little bit longer till we get the body work done to it. I had Bob go ahead and weld up all the seams back here. These are all going to be nice smooth transition all the way across the back of the car. Still got to do a little work on the inside of the trunk floor, but the rust was not bad in this car at all. All I had was rust in the front floor pans and